Hello, my most amazing artists. Welcome back from spring break. And I'm going to go over real quickly the project that you guys have in your packets for this week. So you guys are asked to go outside, find a tree that you like, and just sit down and draw what you see in front of you, the tree that you see in front of you. So for my fourth graders, this is kind of a review since we learned how to draw trees earlier this year. My fifth graders, this is not a review, but we have practiced observational drawing. So the things that we've talked about with observational drawing is that as you're drawing what you see in front of you, you start with the outside or the contour lines like you guys had talked about before spring break in your project. So you focus on the very outside of the object that you're drawing. Don't worry about any of the other details. And then you start adding the texture, which is the bark, and drawing what that would look like, or the leaves, or the grass under the bottom of the tree, or maybe some things behind the tree, okay? So you want to focus on the outside details first and then start filling it in. Another key with observational drawing is don't just look at it and be like, oh, that's a tree, and then go ahead and just draw and not even look at the tree anymore after that, because that means that you're drawing what you think a tree should look like without looking back at that tree. So if that tree, maybe that tree has 3 branches and it's like split in half because it was hit by a lightning bolt. You don't want to just draw whatever tree you want with a bunch of leaves on it, right? Because that's not what you're looking at. So make sure that whatever you're drawing is what you're looking at in front of you, okay? Now we haven't gone over a couple of the words that are in this project that are in the packet. For instance, foreground, middle ground, and background. You guys should have gone over that in 3rd grade, but that was a little while ago. So I'm just going to review what that is. Foreground means that's what's in the front. So as you guys are looking at me in this video, what's in the very front that's overlapping everything else is me. I'm in the foreground of this video, okay? Now, whatever's in the background is what's in the very, very behind. So that wall behind me, the gray and white wall, that's in the background. Whatever's in the middle ground is in between the foreground and the background. So that picture right there, that would be in the foreground. That mantle right there would be in the foreground. That piano and that painting would be in the foreground, okay? So it's like the steps of depth. Whatever is in the very front that overlaps everything else is the foreground. Whatever's behind what's in the foreground is the middle ground, and then whatever is in the very behind is the background. I'm going to give you a little tip real quick when you're trying to figure out what the foreground, middle ground, and background are. When you see the parts of a page, whatever's in the foreground is usually at the bottom or in the center, okay? So if you're looking at a painting, the foreground typically hangs out in this area. Then you go up a little higher, kind of like a stair step, and the middle of the page is usually where the middle ground is, okay? So it's behind the foreground and it hangs out right here. Then if you look at the very top of a work of art, usually what's up here is the background, like maybe the sky or the wall. Whatever is in the very, very back is usually at the top, okay? So that applies to your tree observational drawing by thinking about maybe if you're drawing a tree, there's something in front of the tree that's even closer to you. So maybe there's a bike on the sidewalk, or maybe if you're sitting down and your feet are in front of you, maybe your foot is, you see your foot closer to you and then the tree is back here, okay? So think about whatever's in front of the tree. Maybe the tree is in the foreground. Maybe you're really close to the tree and that's in front of everything else. Then you have to think about what's right behind the tree. Maybe there's a road. Maybe there's some cars. And then what's behind even that? Maybe there's a house and that would be the background. Or maybe there's a sky and that would be the background, okay? One last thing when you're thinking about foreground, middle ground, and background is the horizon line. So if I am drawing a tree, I'm going to start with the trunk Obviously, whatever tree I'm looking at, I need to make sure it looks like that and not just these two lines. But that's basically how you start. Then you're going to figure out where the branches start branching out of the trunk. And you're going to start putting kind of like a V shape. Okay? Wherever you start branching off is where you put another V. So I'm going to put a V here. And I'm just showing you how to do the branches, but yet again, like I've said before, just make sure that you're drawing what you see and you don't just draw a bunch of V's inside of each other, okay? You really want to focus on that tree, okay? So I have my tree. Let's pretend like it's a really dead tree. There's not a lot of life here, okay? Boop, boop, boop. Okay, just for time's sake. Now, the horizon line is always going to be behind the middle ground, okay? And a horizon line is what separates the ground from the sky. So there's always going to be somewhere behind my foreground and behind my middle ground a line that separates the sky from the ground, okay? And maybe back here I have a house in the middle ground. A very simple house. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this would be in the middle ground because it's in front of the horizon line. Okay? So I know I gave you guys a lot of vocab words for this art lesson, but I hope that helped elaborate a little bit more on what each one meant. Make sure to touch base with me about what projects you've already done and send them to me. I would love to see what you guys are working on. If you guys have any questions, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. And I might be posting some extra projects if you guys would like some extra things to do. All right, have fun creating, guys.